The reorder paragraph question type in the PTE exam tests your ability to understand how sentences and paragraphs connect to each other. It could be a logical connection or it could be a grammatical connection. Let's talk about this. Hi, I'm Sharon and I'm a PTE trainer here at Benchmark Education Solutions. I'm glad you've joined me today for this overview of the reorder paragraph question type. You'll find this question in the reading section of the PTE exam. In this overview video, we'll look at how this question is scored, we'll do an example together, and I'll leave you with some important tips to keep in mind when answering these questions. Let's get started with a brief overview of this question type. This is the third task in the reading section, in which you'll see 5 sentences of a paragraph in mixed order. You will need to drag and drop the sentences into the correct order. Keep in mind that there is only one correct order per paragraph. The biggest skills tested in this question type are grammar, paragraph structure, and understanding the meaning of a paragraph. And when it comes to grammar, you should expect to review and understand the functions of nouns, pronouns, articles, and connectives that link various ideas together. On test day, expect to see around 2 to 3 of these questions. Since you must pace yourself in the reading section, you should plan to spend anywhere from 1 to 3 minutes on each question. Now let's look at how this question is scored. The scoring is a little complicated, so I'll take you through a few options. This is part of your reading score, and you receive partial credit for each correctly ordered and adjacent pair. A score of 1 is given for each pair of correct adjacent text boxes, and a score of 0 is the minimum score. Negative scoring is not used for this question type. Let's look at an example of possible scoring scenarios just to give you a better idea. In this example, the correct order is 5, 4, 1, 3, and 2. Because this is a test of how a paragraph is put together, it's not enough just to put a sentence in the right place. You need to put 2 sentences together in the right order to earn a point. Notice how in the 0 points column you have 2 sentences in the right place, but they are not together, and you won't earn any points for this. In the 1 point column, you have 2 sentences in the right place and they form a pair. This will earn you 1 point. The maximum score is 4 points because there are 4 possible pairs of sentences. This is important to keep in mind because you're being tested on your ability to construct a paragraph and to understand how sentences flow together to form a paragraph. Before we look at our example, I want to let you know that we do go over more strategies and tips in our in-depth lesson. However, I want to give you a few things to keep in mind as we approach this example. First, when it comes to nouns and pronouns, pay attention to the subject of your paragraph. What is the paragraph about? The first sentence will usually introduce your subject, and then it will probably be referred to with a pronoun in later sentences. The same thing goes with names and people. The name of a person will be used the first time he or she is introduced, and then could be substituted by he or she later on. Most importantly, make it your goal to locate the leading sentence, also known as the independent sentence, first. This will make things easier because if you locate your independent leading sentence first, it's more likely that the rest of the paragraph will be easier to put into place. Look at this example. I'll give you 2 minutes to do it on your own, and then you'll see a 10-second timer to let you know your time is almost up. Then we'll look at the answers together. Okay, the time is up. How did you do? Let's take a look at the answers. The correct order is D, B, A, C, and E. Let's talk about why. Look at the first sentence. Markets may be good at encouraging innovation and following trends, but they were no good at ensuring social equality. This is the first sentence because it introduces the topic of the paragraph. You see the main noun, markets. Plus, the other sentences reference markets and provide examples of how they worked, as well as how they did not ensure social equality. This is a perfect example of a leading sentence. It introduces the paragraph. The second sentence, these markets had become rapidly dominated by powerful enterprises who were able to act in their own interests against the interests of both workers and consumers. This is the second sentence because it starts with these markets. What does that mean? Well, the fact that these is used means that it references the markets that were already discussed. They were mentioned in the first sentence, so it makes perfect sense. The third sentence, there had already been some legislation to prevent such abuses, such as various factory acts to prevent the exploitation of child workers. The biggest clue is the phrase, such abuses. If you were to read this sentence on its own, you would probably be asking yourself, what abuses? These are referenced in the second sentence where you see the phrase, against the interests of both workers and consumers, and act in their own interest. So these abuses are examples of what is referred to in the second sentence. In short, it mentions the government's response to the references made in the second sentence. The fourth sentence, Mill was able to see an expanded role for the state in such legislation to protect us against powerful interests. Here we see the first reference to a person, Mill. The fact that his name is used means that this is the first time he's mentioned. Plus, the phrase such legislation is a clear reference to the factory acts mentioned in the third sentence. If you understood that the factory acts is an example of legislation, this would have made perfect sense. This leaves our last sentence as, he was able to argue that the state was the only organ that was genuinely capable of responding to social needs and social interests, unlike markets. A big clue here is the fact that he is used to describe Mill. This should have shown you that it must come after Mill, the proper name of the person. In context, this sentence is an effective conclusion to the paragraph because it solves the problem raised in the leading sentence. How did you do? This was a great example of how to use context, meaning, and grammar to your advantage when answering these questions. And again, we do go over more strategies and examples in our in-depth lesson. I'd like to leave you with a few important things to keep in mind on test day. First, approach this question by reading each sentence for meaning as well as grammar. Both of these are important to fully understand the paragraph. In terms of grammar, though, make sure to pay attention to your pronouns, articles, and names. Just like we saw in our example today, understanding how things and people are referred to can help you get the correct answer. Focus on finding the independent or leading sentence first. This will help you understand the subject of the paragraph, which will then help you put everything else in order. Check for references to names, dates, and main subjects in later sentences. These are things like pronouns and referring back to proper names by using pronouns like he or she. Then, check for the flow of the paragraph. Just like we saw with our example today, our concluding sentence provided a solution to the problem included in the first sentence. And finally, you will need to do all this in your time limit of 1 to 3 minutes. So timing and practice are very important. Thanks for joining me today. I hope this video gave you a general idea of what to expect for the reorder paragraph question type. If you'd like to learn more about the PTE exam or practice more questions, be sure to visit our website at edubenchmark.com or watch our other videos, including the in-depth lesson and also a helpful do's and don'ts video for this question type. And when you start practicing for the speaking section, you should definitely try our PTE speaking mock test here. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.